I'm Reverend Shelley Page, and I am very much honored to serve this very amazing congregation as its developmental minister. We're glad you're with us on this Martin Luther King Sunday. Today, we're going to continue our January theme of courage as we look at our own courage to confront racism as part of our commitment as Unitarian Universalists to create a world of justice, peace, and mercy. If you're new to our community, welcome. We're super glad that you're here. And we hope that you come downstairs after our worship service today and have refreshments and conversation with us, get to know us a bit more. Martin Luther King once said, "The question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists we will be. Will we be extremists for hate or for love? Will we be extremists for the prevention of injustice or for the extension of justice?" This is the day that our nation is celebrating the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who helped so many people gain perspective about what it means to change the world, especially in a nonviolent way, right? He worked for racial justice, he worked for economic justice, he worked for peace. And so a few years ago, actually back in 1998, that was quite a few years ago, the children of Memphis wrote letters to Dr. King. He was killed in 1968, okay? So he was assassinated in Memphis because there were people in our country who did not want to be seeing progress made for racial injustice. And so the children of Memphis did a project where they wrote letters to Dr. King as if he was still with us. And they put them into this wonderful book that I had gotten several years ago. It has many, many letters in it, but I just wanted to share just a few of them with you today because some of them, I think, are relevant to our situation, and they might be letters that kids right today would send to Dr. King. The first two are from two friends named Preston and Derek. Derek writes, "Dear Dr. King, I don't think skin color matters much. We're all humans. Even today I see how some whites act around me, and I think some are uncomfortable. On the other hand, some whites act normal around me, like my friend Preston. I think whites should not act weird around blacks. Sincerely, Derek, age 9. From the mouths of children. Yes. Now, his friend Preston also writes, and he goes, "Dear Martin Luther King Jr., I don't like it when one boy picks on my friend Derek. He calls him a chocolate cake. He picks on me too. Derek is a black boy. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be his best friend or classmate. He's very nice, but he can be weird. Derek is my only friend and the best one anyone could ever have. I'm writing to you because I need your help. I don't want anyone making fun of Derek anymore. What should I do? Sincerely, Preston, age 10. Now, here's another letter, very short and sweet. Dear Dr. King, my friend is a racist and she wants me to be one too. My friend really needs a lot of help. Carmen, age 10. And then this note. Dear Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., yes, gone is most of the open segregation and violence. No one is killed when they go to vote. Everybody can ride on the same bus. However, segregation continues where it's hard to see. At schools, black and white children trade insults. Asians are treated at the supermarket. White people and black people live in different neighborhoods. Government has abolished most public segregation, but segregation still lives on. We need to carry on your dream or things just might get worse. Sincerely, Lee, age 11. And then this one from Becky, age 9. Dear Dr. King, just remember this. Roses are red, violets are blue, you freed America, and Lincoln helped too. I've always wondered if you had a sense of humor. You probably do, but I don't know. Sincerely, Becky. And then, dear Dr. King, was your teacher black or white? Does your teacher like you just the same? Love, to Kendra, age 9. And then this last one I'll share. Dear Dr. King, it would have been a lost world if you didn't come into it. There's still a lot of violence going on here. If you can, please send someone down from heaven to help. Sincerely, Ellen, age 9. My sense is that these children and all the other kids who have letters in this book have feelings perhaps similar to you and perhaps to all of us about the hope that Dr. King brought into the world, but also the wish that we could lead our way out of the situations we find ourselves in this country. And so that last letter about sending someone down from heaven, as a Unitarian Universalist, I say this: I'm not waiting for someone from heaven to come down, but I'm looking around at the heaven here on earth and saying we can all be part of the solution.
So funny.
Hell you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? Now, it may seem a little odd to use that kind of language in church, I admit. We don't usually talk about what the hell are you talking about sitting in a house of worship. But our black siblings are posing that question because in so many ways we have created hell in our world. Who is this we? It's all of us. And it's all of our ancestors. It's a collective, ongoing hell of racism, a system of prejudice and power that oppresses people of color. Now, since our last Martin Luther King Jr. Sunday, a year ago, our nation's racism has been further exposed, called out through a continuing barrage of police violence, lack of justice in the courts, murders of innocent people in their own church, and increasing blatant race baiting in our presidential politics. Indeed, hell you talking about? Yeah, what is going on? There's many reactions that we each have to this racist sea that we're all swimming in. For some, tears of despair roll down cheeks each time a new incident unfolds. Some tune it out because they just hope it'll go away. Others get angry and start to act out. Some want help, but can't even imagine knowing where to start. Because this is an overwhelming, pervasive sickness that infects our entire society. But as Yoda said, we must start somewhere. Somewhere we must. Yes, we must. And so today, we're going to talk about the reality of white liberals. Although I'm aware that some of you identify as people of color, and if that is you, then please bear with us as we learn together. So often, as Unitarian Universalists who are overwhelmingly white and overwhelmingly liberal, we tend to feel a bit self-satisfied and we proclaim things like, well, I'm not racist, or, oh, I don't see color at all, everyone's just the same, and just great, kumbaya. And you know what? That may be true, but our faith is calling us to stand with our black neighbors and recognize that there are real differences, and that takes courage. Now, some in this congregation have taken a courageous step to move beyond the, well, I'm not racist, to put themselves out there in a vulnerable way in the service of learning more, and also moving toward being able to truly stand on the side of love with people of color. It means waking up to whiteness and not minimizing or dismissing the lived experience of people of color. It's not being colorblind. Now, some have participated in some wonderful book groups. One reading the Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. In fact, there's another opportunity to have a discussion on that this week. And also the Waking Up White and Finding Myself in the Story of Race by Debbie Irving. And others have been meeting with the Understanding Racism Learning Circle, delving deeply into their own stories and experiences, sharing in a circle of trust and vulnerability, further unpacking what racism is really about. 3 members of this group volunteered to share with you today in the service of expanding the conversation. Beverly Daly will share some reminiscences of her awareness of whiteness and blackness. Peter LeCain will reflect on getting in touch with white privilege. And Neil Gaffelin will share a reading about checking your privilege that really explains this concept well. I honor each of them in their willingness to speak to you today from their hearts. We'll start out with Beverly.
I was 3 years old when my family moved from Pleasant Grove to Salt Lake City. We lived near the University of Utah where my father taught school. I later attended a school on campus. In all those years, I never remember seeing a black person in any of my classes at my LDS church or on the campus. When I was about 10 or 11, I picked up a book called Uncle Tom's Cabin and was saddened and horrified to read about the cruelty of a white overseer with a whip who chased a young black woman, Negro slave, holding her baby across the icy river as she tried to escape. Another time when I was about junior high age, I remember asking my grandmother why it was that people didn't seem to associate with black people. She hesitated a moment and gave a little self-conscious laugh and said, I wouldn't know what to say. That told me that one must make an effort to talk to people they don't know in order to make friends. But I didn't know any black people to be friends with because there weren't any black people in my neighborhood. After college at the University of Utah and my marriage to Wallace Daly, we moved to Detroit for his medical residency year. Detroit at this time was the center of the automobile industry and had attracted a large, diverse workforce, including African Americans, seeking to get away from the starvation wages of the cotton fields in the South. Now, I was in a new setting with lots of opportunity to interact with black people, a setting also unsettled by a lot of labor unrest. I decided I needed some general advice as to how to get along in a big multicultural city like Detroit. So I asked my boss, who had lived in New York City, and he told me, treat people there in Detroit just the same as you would treat people anywhere else. It was good advice. First time I went shopping in downtown Detroit, I was waited on by a young black woman. As she handed me my change, she said, "Now don't forget your purse. Someone might see it lying there and take it." It was nice of her to warn me about the reality of the big city, especially since I was a stranger. When my husband and I returned from Michigan to Salt Lake in 1954, I began to take an interest in politics due to the burgeoning women's movement and Betty Friedan's book, The Feminine Mystique. I joined every new women's organization that I could, and some of the old ones too. The YWCA, which later became YCC, League of Women Voters, Women's Political Caucus, National Organization for Women, and the Utah Equal Rights Amendment Coalition. And in every one of these, there were people of color and women of color. So in the effort to achieve more equality for women, it seems that existing racial differences made no difference. And we were instant friends. So that is my experience growing up in a white society.
Good morning. My name's Peter LeCain. My understanding of racism has been a questioning search for most of my life. I have had the good fortune of living in ethnically diverse locations, coupled with the challenges of living in a racially biased area too. For me, and I think for you as well, there has not been enough room on this planet for us and racism. Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit preachy here. Living on an army post in southern Arizona as a kid, I became aware of the color barrier and white privilege that the early 60s typified. A lot of black and Hispanic military and civil servants worked with my dad, but the officers and the supervisors were all white. Kids seem to intuitively get that it should be normal to be colorblind and to work and play together. My siblings and I were quite a bit younger than the other kids. They all seemed wise to me, no matter their race, and experts as the art of play and fairness. White entitlement seemed to be in place like a rule of order. My grandparents and father seemed to be a product of an age pillared by this entitlement. They seemed to plan on success, and they were allowed they were allowed to allow their privilege to get them there. They would be prone to stereotyping racial judgments of situations and people. I spent my junior and high school years in the state that fathered the Confederacy, Virginia. During my senior year in high school, one morning, I came into the commons and lunchroom area of the school to find crudely laid out flyers taped all about. I could not believe that much nonsense could be fit on one single piece of paper. During non-school hours, someone had placed a white supremacist meeting notice throughout our school. I pressed my friends into service to remove them, and we turned the rotten lot into the vice principal. Being present at the Understanding Racism group meetings here at the UCCO, we explored this topic in a questioning environment. When white privilege is mentioned in a liberal faith environment, we sometimes reply, "I'm not a racist." So can we just stay on the high road and attempt to take white privilege out of our understanding of race relations? While in the class, we explored the need to comprehend the existence of white privilege and its impact on racial relations. White privilege has contributed to the divisions and inequities that we have between the races today. Being as none of us had anything to do or to earn this white privilege, it has been the proverbial elephant in the room. It gets in the way of positive racial dialogue.
I'm sure you've never been told to check your privilege. Here's what that really means, by Sam Dillon Finch. The first time I was told to check my privilege, I was angry. I was defensive, and most of all, I was offended. I said to myself, oh please, they have no idea what my life has been like. Years later, I can say without a doubt that I was wrong. I do have privilege. And chances are, so do you, because we all carry around privilege of some kind. Simply put, privilege means that we may unknowingly have certain advantages over others. And these advantages exist only because there are aspects of our identity that society values over others. For example, growing up, I never experienced food or financial insecurity. I didn't have a job while I was in high school, and I was able to attain a good education. It was assumed by default that I would be high achieving. As a result, my teachers invested a lot in my success. In contrast, I had poorer classmates who experienced near constant food and financial insecurity. This impacted their focus, their emotional well-being, and their grades. Teachers simply assumed that they were lost causes that didn't care about their schooling. Consequently, they didn't spend as much time mentoring those classmates as they did mentoring me. Does this mean I didn't struggle too? No. Does it mean that I'm a bad person? No. It simply means that I gained an unearned advantage in comparison to other people because of prejudice. Other laws and institutions can reflect this prejudice too, and the result is that people end up with advantages and disadvantages depending on their intersecting social statuses. Things like disability, race, sexuality, gender, class, and more. When someone asks you to check your privilege, what they're really asking you to do is to reflect on the ways that your social status might have given you an advantage, even if you didn't ask for it or earn it, while their social status might have given them a disadvantage. Yes, it's okay if your initial reaction to being asked to check yourself is not a pleasant one. It can be uncomfortable to be asked to reflect on these issues. When someone is asking you to check your privilege, they aren't trying to insult you. After all, it's not like these privileges are something you ask for. It's not like you're thrilled that society is unequal. In most cases, we don't even notice that we have these privileges. They're just asking you to be compassionate towards the particular struggle that they've had, and to acknowledge that their struggle has been different from yours. They want you to acknowledge and reflect on the ways that your lives and your background is different. Being asked to check your privilege is actually a compliment because they're assuming that you can rise to the occasion, that you're capable of demonstrating the kind of empathy that's needed. Things won't get better until people with privileges start to think critically about the advantages that we have. If we can't recognize the ways in which we have privileges, we will be complicit in a system that rewards some and not others. We will be co-signing inequity.
I wish I could share all the love in my heart, remove all the bars that still keep us apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me, then you'd see and agree. Everyone should be free. Then you'd see and agree. Everyone should be free. Yes.
My own understanding of privilege took an unexpected turn in December. I was very supportive of the most recent Black Lives Matter demonstrations in Minneapolis until they decided to block the road to the airport. I knew that if I had missed my flight because of demonstrators, I would be hopping mad. I was just fine with them demonstrating peacefully in the Mall of America, not disrupting shoppers, but simply drawing attention to their cause. But when they were turned out of the mall and then they descended on the airport, I was indignant. I called my partner Myron, who lives only a few miles from there, serves a church in that area, and we both fumed together for a while. And then we got it out of our system, and then we both, at about the same moment, said, whoa, 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 whoa. We need to step back. Way, way, way back. The fact is that missing a flight is merely an inconvenience, possibly a big inconvenience, but merely an inconvenience. Being afraid for your child, your spouse, your nephew, your student, your neighbor every day because their black life might be the next one to be snuffed out is no way for anyone to live. Being concerned that justice will not prevail yet again and then yet again, while people in power do not listen and change, is a cause worthy of our great attention. So some people were inconvenienced, just as some people were inconvenienced by the Montgomery bus boycott decades ago. Martin Luther King taught us that nonviolent resistance is a powerful and appropriate tool of justice making. And so I learned that I was reacting from my white, middle-class social position as I felt deeply uncomfortable with this airport blockade. Yeah. And I imagine that I'll continue to feel uncomfortable from time to time as I reflect on my own white privilege and I try to engage in this hard work of undoing racism. Maisha Johnson, who is an African-American writer for Everyday Feminism online, offers us some wonderful 101 kind of guidance as we each seek to do our part in this struggle to end racism. She encourages us meaning white people in this case, to ask questions, to learn where people are coming from. So for example, if a black woman shares that it's racist when white people touch her hair, don't go off talking about how, well, I'm not offended if someone touches my hair, because one of all, it's not about you. And instead, say something like, gosh, I had no idea that was a big problem. Can you tell me more about how that connects to racism? And then listen to what she says. Now that said, one of the things we need to get in touch with is to stop expecting people of color to do all the work of us learning about privilege and race. If you don't get why something is racist when you hear about it, look it up. Believe me, there's a ton of stuff online. You can educate yourself. There's a lot of complexities out there. Don't always be expecting black people, brown people, etc., people of color to be explaining it to you. And get used to the fact that people do have different experiences than you do. Don't dismiss or minimize what is different. Listen and learn about things that are outside of your own frame of reference. Remember that equality isn't about sameness. Maisha also asks us to practice sitting with our uncomfortable feelings because guess what? This isn't supposed to be comfortable. Get over it. It's not comfortable. You will be triggered now and then. But step back. Step way back, the way Myron and I did on the phone. Step way back and start reflecting and see what you learn from your discomfort. And finally, Maisha makes this suggestion. Direct your anger, your righteous anger, at the systems of racism, not the people trying to fight them. Use your power to help people of color fight systems of injustice, but be sure to leave your defensiveness at the door. And some of you have said, well, you know, I really appreciate that we're doing these racism groups and learning new stuff, but what can we do right here in Ogden? I want to do something. Well, truly, our first step is learning more, because we all have a lot more to learn. But there is another action you can do. It's called showing up. That's what Reverend Stanley Ellington, the local president of the NAACP, shared with me when I asked him this very question. He said, show up. And guess what? You have an opportunity tomorrow morning, because there'll be the Martin Luther King breakfast at the Marshall White Center. And there's other opportunities that are listed on the green sheet in your order of service, a whole list of things going on in Ogden in the next few days. Showing up, putting your body there says, I'm with you, and I'm willing to listen and to learn. It's a first step, but it's an important, necessary step. It's a vital step we need to do to make a difference. So, see you for breakfast tomorrow morning at the Marshall White Center. Let us pray. O Spirit of love and life, help us to call up courage from deep within. Help us to face our trials with strength and wisdom. Help us to know that we are not alone, but held in great love as we deal with whatever may be weighing on our hearts. May the courage found at the core of our being rise up as we seek to do our part in ending oppression and doing the hard work of justice making. May we live the inspired lives of those who stand on the side of love, so that those to come will carry on this great work, just as we now carry on the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other courageous souls. This morning we hold fellow humans in our hearts as they face suffering in Syria, Burkina Faso, Flint, refugee camps across Europe, and so many other places. As we worship this morning, there are those who are gentle on our minds, people that we love and we wish to hold in our hearts. You're invited to speak aloud the names of those who you wish to hold in the loving collective embrace of this group this morning. Please now speak their names aloud. By our listening, we weave the fabric of the beloved community, and may we feel the loving support of this congregation, our dearest loved ones, in the spirit of life that holds and sustains us There are times of joy and sorrow. Let us enter into a time of silence so that we can hear the words that our hearts need to speak to us. Shalom, salam, shanti. Amen. Blessed be.